Earlier this year, when I saw the movie, The Maze Runner, it reminded me of a book, of a science fiction book that I've read almost 40 years ago. The name of that book is The Man in the Maze by Robert Silverberg. I don't know how many of you like science fiction and know the name, but he is one of the best authors of science fiction. And he describes a maze that was created by a foreign civilization on planet Lemnos, a deadly maze surrounded by multiple rings of defense that civilization created in order to protect the treasures in the center when they had to leave in a hurry. There are multiple rings of defense, each with its own traps, mines, and monsters. And they are designed to keep the gold diggers away. Over the 100 years or so that the maze existed, indeed teams of gold diggers have tried again and again to get to the center of the maze. But they all died. They all died because they did not understand what they are facing. When I thought about that, it all of a sudden occurred to me that for the last 25 years, I live in such a maze. It's the maze of startup fundraising. But instead of being in physical form, it's a mental maze. However, it has all those traps, mines, and monsters in it. And it's actually designed to have the same ring structure of multiple rings of defense. Startups that are unaware of the maze just rush in for the gold, and they die very quickly. Dying in the maze meaning an investor is telling you, don't come back. So what I want to do today is to share with you the structure of the maze that I documented over many years of work. And actually, if you will count here, there are 16 bad things that can happen to you, but in reality, there are over 100. We are not going to go over 100 bad things today, but I'm going to show you the 16 traps in the ring structure of the maze that will help you get to the gold in the center without being hurt. So let's start. In the investor's mind, the maze consists of a ring structure. These are rings of defense. And the outer ring is called positioning. This is where it all starts, and for most companies, this is where it ends. It ends quickly. They die quickly, even without getting a chance. What is positioning, and what are the traps that are awaiting for you in the external ring of the maze that is called positioning? Now, this is actually a very simple concept that most companies fail to understand because they take it from the wrong direction. If you go back to marketing school, positioning is very simple. It's just an exercise of filling in the blanks. So it's like this. For target customer, fill the blank. That needs something. You have to define what they need. The company, product, service is a category or solution with the benefit. Very simple, right? And then it comes to something that is mentioned towards the end. Unlike competitors, our product or service has this differentiator. Sounds pretty simple. Most companies that I've seen throughout my career spend anywhere between 30 minutes to 1 day on this. Then they go and they spend a year on building the product, and then they go and they spend 2 years trying to sell it. Usually those companies don't get to those stages because they don't get financed. The first thing is, and this is the first thing that kills most of the companies right there, is that you are overcomplicating things. You are presenting your story, including everything at once. There are so many things, so many moving elements. It's very difficult to understand. Sometimes it's nearly incomprehensible. To the investor, of course, sometimes also to the people who present it. It tends to confuse you when you are doing this in that way. If you think that only startups fail here, And if you think that only startups die because of positioning problems, look at BlackBerry. Anybody here doesn't know this pioneer of the smartphones? So here is the positioning statement of BlackBerry after iPhone appeared out of nowhere to kill them. So the positioning statement is saying like this. For accomplished adults aged 35 to 49, they define clearly what age you are supposed to be, no less than 35, no more than 49, who are ambitious yet practical. Compliment already. They want a mobile device that's more than a phone but isn't overcomplicated with today's distractions. So BlackBerry is the only brand that gives you a phone that is so simple that you can do whatever you need and then you go back to your professional and personal life. So if you want a smartphone for smart people, very accomplished people, that has nothing smart in it, BlackBerry is your phone. That's the positioning of the company after 100 consultants were recruited to help them understand how they are going to define their position in front of the new smartphone market. BlackBerry, rest in peace, by the way, was not very successful. All around us, people are not successful in communicating clearly. You know, this on the roads, you see while you are driving, no person shall on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, the day preceding a public holiday or on a public holiday, drive or cause to be driven between the hours of 6 p.m. and midnight, a motor vehicle which exceeds 10.5 meters in length on all main roads. This is for you while you are driving at 60 miles per hour, and you are supposed to understand it. If you got it right, then it comes to the point that you need to stop somewhere. There are signs that guide you as to how you can stop. This is a tow-away, no stopping. From 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., there is one color code. These are the whites. From 4 p.m. to midnight, these are the black ones. And it's on the date below, and now you have this calendar with multiple colors, and you are supposed now to know if it's okay to park or not. In the world of startups, it's exactly the same. Only that they tend to hide behind many sophisticated words, buzzwords, like we are the best social digital platform for marketing content that creates communities that are conceptually advancing the world of viral business. You can create that in any variation that you want. You go on the websites of big companies, you find that kind of language. You go onto the presentations of startups, they like to start like this because they look at how other companies do it and they copy it. To summarize this point, Albert Einstein said it very clearly. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Think about that for a minute. You don't understand it well enough. And that is the source of the problem most of the time in positioning. You don't really understand it. Looking at the next trap that awaits for you, this is called a differentiation idea. Now, differentiation is something that most people think that they know what it is. But how does it look from an investor's point of view, and what happens in an investor's mind? They are not meeting with you as the single company in that space. Most probably, if they are going to invest in the space, they know something about it. So they've met with other companies. And as they do that, they develop a very cynical view of the market. And by the way, we are very familiar with it from the shelves of the supermarkets. There are about 12,000 products on the shelves of a typical supermarket. Imagine 12,000 things to remember, to differentiate in your mind. And these are different brands that compete for your attention. By the way, a college graduate has about 8,000 words in the spoken vocabulary. So they go to college. After 3 years, they are still missing 4,000 words just to be able to say the names of all those products. Okay? So it's really challenging. So And here is the point. From now on, when you think about the maze in an investor's mind, you have to understand that the traps are caused for you by images in their mind. Investors think in images. You talk, and they have an image in their mind that is coming as an associative kind of response to what you're saying. So when you talk about your company and you start to differentiate yourself, if that is the image, you are not in good shape. You want to change that image to something like this, okay? And in order to do that, you have to ask yourself, how do I change the image so that I stand out from the crowd? Most companies approach it the wrong way. What they do is they put up a table that essentially compares all the features of the product or the service with all the other things that other companies do. That doesn't work. That doesn't change the picture. It actually just creates an aggravation of the situation because I cannot comprehend what I'm seeing here. I cannot remember all those features. I don't know all these products. I never use them, okay? Remember again the shelves of the supermarket. How do you buy something? Do you really understand the difference in the features? Or is it more of a mental image that you have about that brand? The same way happens in an investor's mind. You need to respond to that in a very different way. You need to tell a story. You need to come into the meeting and tell an interesting story about a problem in the market, about real people that have a problem. You have to make it very personal. You have to tell a story that essentially creates a déjà vu in the investor's mind. A déjà vu is something that reminds them of something that they have seen in the past that is good. It reminds them of another company in another space that is similar to yours, or of a good market where they invested in the past, that they want to actually repeat that experience. And once you create that déjà vu, you have to do that with an idea. You have to present your differentiator as an idea, as a conceptual difference in the approach, not in the features. The next one is actually quite simple, but many companies, again, are not even aware that it exists. It's called market stigma. This is a bad one. This is a really bad one. You are so focused on what you do. You like your product. You like your company. It's your life. That you don't even stop to think about the possibility that the whole market that you are presenting is considered a very bad place to be in. It doesn't even matter what product specifically you are building or what the differentiator is. Really, the first thing that comes to the mind of the investor is an image like this. This is going nowhere. This is something that many other companies have tried and failed. Big ones, small ones. It requires a lot of infrastructure that does not exist yet, a lot of technology that is not available yet. It's something that is just not going to be successful. If you are in that kind of situation, there is almost no way that you are going to get funded. This is a big problem and actually a very real problem. Startups start in markets that are considered bad markets. Markets where there is no hope. The only way then to raise money is to find people that are very knowledgeable about the market. People that have a positive view about that market. Sometimes the problem is that it just creates another image. An image of something that will take very, very long time. And this is actually very typical of investments in biotech, for example, or it can be in enterprise software in certain spaces, places where it takes a lot of time to build a company. And people don't want to wait that long. And the last one on the positioning is again very intuitive, but most people start a company and put all their lives into the company, not realizing that actually it is perceived as something that is too hard or just too easy. One of these two is going to kill you. Now, there are things that are very, very simple to explain, but they are very, very hard to do. This is a good example, Fermat's last theorem. this was a theorem in mathematics that was very easy to define. We all know the Pythagoras theorem, like x squared plus y squared equals z squared. You take the number 3, 4, and 5, and this is actually a Pythagoras theorem for the number 2. What Fermat said is that there are no other exponents, whether it's 3, 4, 5, you can substitute for n, any other number but 2, and then you are free to choose any 3 numbers x, y, z in the universe of integer numbers, and you are not going to find any. So this took only 358 years to prove. Very short time. And about 100 mathematicians, the best ones, have ruined their careers trying to prove the theorem. It was considered the killer of careers of mathematicians. So it is very easy to define, but very, very difficult to do. Sometimes the problem is different. And this is another trap. You start to explain what you do, and this is the image that the investor has in their mind. This is something that requires very special skills. This is something that very few people on earth can do. Are you one of those people? We will get to that later when we talk about the team. But if this is the kind of situation you're in, then it's extremely unlikely that they are going to gamble on you. And finally, this is what happens when the image is about something that's very easy. This sounds very easy. Everybody can do it. You are just using a few components that are out there, some software that other people have built. You connect it together, and here it is. Again, this will stop them from investing in you. So the key, really, eventually in positioning is a summary of all those things. You need to have a good market with a real problem for real people. You need to have a product that just sounds right off the bat. It sounds right. This is the right solution. A clear differentiation idea, doable by this team. This is what you need. If you fail in any one of these, you are going to die at the outer ring, which is positioning. And again, going back to the definition from marketing school, it's nothing like the definition. There is nothing there that hints you to those traps. So positioning is the outer ring. Let's move now into the maze. One more ring. The next one is the market. Now this one is a really ugly one. And most companies don't even realize how deep it is and how many traps, mines, and monsters await for them around that simple word, market. And the reason is that they don't spend a lot of time to even understand the market they are going to be in. But investors want what is called market validation. What is market validation? Market validation comes to the very simple question, which is there a market? Is there a market for this product or service? Now, what do you mean, is there a market? Of course there is a market. Why are we here? We've built that product. We've given out our jobs. We are here for the last year and a half because there is a market. As an investor, I am not convinced at all. The fact that you are telling me that there is a market has to be validated. I want to see market validation. Because I know there is no market. Then you can bring in the best team, an A team. The problem is there is no plan B. For lack of market, there is no plan B. The best team is going to end up in survival game at best. They're going to burn all the money looking for customers that don't exist. Most companies, when they bring they put their attention to that challenge of proving that there is a market, they seek the help of analysts. The analysts know, they will tell us about the market. So they come up with this kind of quotes. In 2014, the impact of connected smart devices will add 1.9 trillion to the global economy and disrupt every aspect of business. And who said that? Gartner. So here is the market. We are riding the wave of mobile devices. This is useless. And the reason that it is useless is because it doesn't talk about real people with a real problem. You need to demonstrate exactly the target market that you are going to address. Now, another problem around that market validation is that many times companies get excited about the fact that even though they don't find real people with a real problem, they focus on the monetization and the social aspect of their product. So they design into the product a lot of stuff that is supposed to create a market where there is really no need for nobody. This was a really successful experiment in social gaming called Click the Cow. The game is very simple. There is a cow appearing on screen and you have to click on it. Whoever clicks the most times gets the most points. There was virtual money for how many times you click the cow. There is no need, there is no problem. It's a very stupid game. But it had some monetization, and it was interesting to see that initially it created some traction. You don't want to be a click the cow type of image in the investor's mind. Nor do you want to be in the position of trying to invent clearly a product where there is no need for one. So you come and you prove it, and you even show other people that are doing it, but this doesn't mean that there is a need by real people to this product. This is by Sapporo from Japan. They are competing with 2 other companies that offer the same product. Last one on the market validation is the question of timing. Victor Hugo said, there is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Now, timing is actually something that many times is the killer of companies in reality, and investors are very careful to ask the question of why now? Why now exactly? Because timing is everything. Google Glass is a product by Google that only 2 years ago everybody thought is going to revolutionize the world. But it's not going to do that anytime soon. And Google has realized it as well. And the reason that it's not going to revolutionize the world is because the world is not ready for it. Socially, there are barriers to its use. Technologically, there are still many unresolved issues. It requires a lot of things. Many things have to happen before this product will actually be something that will be useful. So, market validation. These are the traps around it and the images that are in the investor's mind around market validation. Next one is it a good market? Now, this is a very simple question. Of course it's a good market because we are in it, because we are building that product to make life easier and better for people. It's a good market. Okay, a good market is a market where an investor can make money, where you can build a successful, substantial company. I don't want to gamble on a quick exit around a company that is doing a click the cow type of business. Okay? It might happen, but most likely it will not. So if the image that I have in my mind, again, is the kind of a small pond, yeah, it's a nice place. You guys can actually continue to do what you were doing before, but it doesn't seem to me like there is a reason for a big party. Definitely not with my money. That's what the image that an investor has. That's a very bad image for you if when you explain this is exactly what they think. The other side of it is it's a big market maybe, but with very big competitors. Immediately they visualize the big competitors that you are going to face. They know their names. They are out there. They are the big names: Google, Microsoft, Oracle, Facebook. And you are coming with something that is perceived to be a small fish that is going to be eaten by the big sharks very quickly. Sometimes the problem is actually a combination. It can be small and ugly, both. And also crowded by many little companies like yourself that are fighting in that small, little, ugly market. Most companies don't even spend the time to present the market, not the product, to present the market in an attractive way, to actually prevent those images from coming into the mind of the investor to begin with. If your market is not so big, it could be actually a good thing. If you can have a good business model in a niche market, that's a great model, but you have to present it in an attractive way. If you just go and present the market by way of some analyst reports or whatever, it can create a very negative image right from the start. And you are not going to make any progress if the market is perceived to be a bad market. So market validation in a good market, let's say that you are actually capable of passing those two traps. The next one is the go-to-market. Here is a good market, and it's validated. So how are you going to go to that market? Again, most companies look at that as a problem that is probably requiring one slide, some buzzwords. Yes, we are a SaaS company, it's a subscription model, and our pricing is like this company that is in our space. Actually, this is a very, very critical element of the company, the right to exist, and investors are digging into that a lot. You have to be able to describe your business model, your distribution, your pricing. All those elements have to be there right from the start. And you have to be exceptionally articulate in your ability to explain how they work and to validate and to prove them. The last element, if you are actually capable of passing all those traps, is comparables. As an investor, I want to have one final check on this before I accept the fact that the market is actually there, it's good, validated. I want to see who else got funded in this market. Again, this is something that most companies don't pay attention to. Go and research the deals. Go and research who else got funded that is in your space, maybe close, maybe around, maybe exactly what you're doing. That's the best. This is not bad, actually. To have competitors that got well funded, this is actually good. It shows that there is a market. It validates for the investor that it's a good investment. So, in summary, again, what we are looking at is very simple in principle. You have to convince the investor that there is a validated market that is ready for you now, where a startup stands a chance against competitors. It's pretty simple. But you have to think that way and to communicate it in that way. Again, think about the images that they run in their mind as you are presenting. We are coming now to the third ring of defense in the investor's mind, and this one actually is where most startups feel very safe. This is the product or the service. Since they are thinking all the time about the product and the service, they feel very safe. What can go wrong? But actually, many things can go wrong. So instead of focusing on the product that way, you need to think about the images that come up in their mind as you present. And the first issue is technology. Now, technology is at the heart of many high-tech products. And the issue is this. If there is no technology, you are just assembling a few pieces of known components and you are building it very quickly, then you are back to the problem of too easy. So, assuming that you have some serious technology, many times, the technology, as you present it and you talk a lot about it, you are raising the bar up to a point where the investor is actually quite concerned that maybe this is what is called the time tunnel syndrome. Yes, you said that you are going to build a time tunnel. That's a great product. There is a huge market for a time tunnel, right? Nobody ever built it, but we are convinced that there will be a market for it. In the mind of the investor, while you are talking about your great technology, if the image that they have is of a time tunnel, then the answer that you are going to hear is going to be a variation of the following. Let's meet in the past at the point where I invested. And we'll continue from there. Go and build it. Come back from the future. Okay? Now, if you think that this is unusual, it's because you are thinking about iPhone applications or about enterprise software. In those spaces, we are quite used to the fact that if you put good people on the job, you give them the money, they build the product. It's not a question of whether it's possible or not. But in biotech, actually, where science is involved, biology, chemistry, it could actually mean that whatever you are describing is something that maybe will take 20 years before the research will actually demonstrate that it's possible. So as an investor, I don't know. I am now the CEO of a company called Anima Biotech. It's a drug discovery platform that is capable, with a very unique technology, to visualize the process of synthesizing proteins inside living cells in real time. You can actually see that. People have been producing movies showing that. And the way that it shows is as pulses of light that are coming out from the ribosomes as they produce the proteins. This is pretty amazing because you can see the process and then you can look for molecules that are new drug candidates that interfere with the synthesis of the proteins. Because proteins are the cause of many of the diseases, most of them, when they go out of control, this is a new therapeutic strategy. Now, believe me that I was good in communicating the idea right from the start. But the problem was real. This technology has to be proven. Can you actually do that? How do you do that magic? It took us 5 years until we got to the point that for the first time we could produce those images that show the technology is actually working, even before building the product around it to discover new drugs. And you see on the right-hand side, you see how it looks. You see images that actually track in real time the progress of a virus inside a cell. And those dots of light are the production of the ribosomes producing the viral proteins. So what you see here is that if the technology is a very difficult one and you are so proud of it and you present it to the investor in that way, essentially you are falling into the trap. You are falling into the trap because you didn't understand that this is going to stop the investment. Now, I'm not saying don't talk about your technology, but I'm saying be very careful in balancing, and if that is the situation, you need to look for comparable technologies that got developed. You will need to focus a lot on the skills of your team, and we'll get to that in a minute, to convince that it's possible. And even with that, it might not work. Because this is a real issue. This is a big, big issue. If it depends on something that there is a doubt whether it's possible to build or not, maybe it will not get funded unless the investors are from the field and they already understand all the risks involved. These are the only people that you will be able to attract. Next one is product market fit. Now, this is a very fundamental thing. What is product market fit? You've heard about it. People talk about it. There are books about it. Again, very complicated story around something that is extremely simple. It's about the question of whether the product that you are building or the service that you are offering is exactly what the market wants. And as you describe the product, the investor is actually coming back to the market at one ring before. Now they connect in the mind. You explained to me about the market. Now we are talking about the product. So my question to you is not what are the features of the product. I'm now trying to connect it with the market and to make sure that this is the product that the market wants. If this is the image that I have, you're stuck. You're stuck with me. I'm not going to invest because I have that image that it doesn't fit. So you have to change that image to something that will be positive. Now, given that you have not completed the development of your product, you don't have 100 customers to validate it, how are you going to do that? You need to create another mental image that is talking in the language of the market, not in the language of the features of the product. You come back to the market and to the problem, and you show your product in that context. This is like two images now. One is what you are building. The other one is what the market wants. And you are showing that even though we are just in the beginning, the first 3 steps, we got it right. This is what people want. This is a very powerful way to communicate that you understand what the issue about product fit is, and that when you talk about the product, you actually talk about the market and how your product fits the market. You don't talk about the features of the product. So product market fit is a very challenging one, and that's the way to address it. Next one is differentiation of the product. Now we talked about it in positioning, but when it comes to the product, most people forget it, and now they again define the differentiation, forgetting about the overall positioning and falling into the trap of talking about the features of the product. They demonstrate all the features of the product, and they demonstrate them in the context of what it is doing that is different from the competition. So it's a table with all those lists of features. Who is better? I ask you who is better. I'm not sure that you can understand from this, even if you knew the products, because this is a moving target. In the investor's mind, the image that they see is not this image that you present. It's actually this. What's the difference between these two pictures? Spot the differences. You can look at it, scan it. One of them is your product, the other one is all the other products. There are some differences. You see the guy has 4 buttons here and 3 buttons there. You can see that the word call has 2 L's correctly, but on the other side there is only 1 L. Something is different about what is written on the wall, and there is a candle. These are the features of your product that are different from the other guys. If this is the image that they have, again, you fell into that trap. You got killed right there. You need to communicate everything around a difference that makes a difference that is really important. How are you going to find that difference? Where is it? It is in what the market wants. If you explained what the market wants and you explained about product market fit, how can it be that your differentiator is not around something that is critically important for the market and is on the roadmap that you are already building for product market fit? This is the only way that it's going to be accepted. So, differentiation, and the way to do it is by focusing again on the market and the fit of the product, and then demonstrating exactly that this is one of your differentiators, where it matters to the customers. Next one is, and final one on the product, is the demo. Now this is very simple. Everybody knows how to do a demo, especially of the product that they created, right? But I can tell you that in about 2/3 of the cases that I've seen, the demo blows up. It doesn't work. They prepared everything, they come, communication problems, the wireless is not available, it requires connection to the internet, it doesn't work, there is a problem now with the server because it's a SaaS and it requires a firewall and it's on the wrong IP address, and they start to dig into those issues. You have to think about a demo as a script. It has to be scripted and trained. You have to train again and again and again to make it right. If you want a beautiful result, like this tie knot, a very special one, you must admit, here are the steps to do it. It takes, as you can see, many steps, 11. And they have to be done in front of the mirror. And you have to train again and again and again until you get it right. And you will be surprised. This can take you about 1,000 times until you get it so beautiful. You want to get to that level in your demo, that the end result is beautiful. Not that it works, it's beautiful. Okay? Now, what do I want to see in the demo, again, as the investor? What am I expecting? You talk to me so much about the market. I love it. I already let you in one more ring. You talk about the product and you demonstrated a product market fit or how you're going to get there. You come to the demo and then you fall into the trap of showing all the features of your product. Big ones, small ones, it's all thrown out there. Multiple use cases, multiple users, multiple workflows, multiple features, everything is out there. You have to focus only on what makes you unique. That's the only important thing to remember. You focus on your differentiator. Right from the start, it's kind of repeating itself from the positioning to the market to the product all the time you focus just on that. And it is something that is important to the customers. It makes a big difference to them. So, in conclusion, what you need is a credible product that fits the market, demonstrated through the difference that matters. That's how you are going to make it through the product ring, and you are getting to the next ring, which is the team. Team is the last ring that we are going to discuss today. Actually, there are about 12 rings. There are more issues to cover, and I'm covering only 4. There are more traps and mines and monsters in each one of them, as I said, over 100. But we are going to continue now with the team and to see what can go wrong about the team. Now, this is actually something that is almost trivial, right? Here we are. Aren't we the right guys for the job? Look at us. We are 2 engineers from Microsoft, 1 from Google. We had a startup before. Okay, it was not successful, but we have the experience from a startup. And we are here to take your money and to build the next big company. So the first problem, really, as you are presenting, this comes up even before you talked about the team, even before you talked about yourself, is the question of skills. What kind of image did you create in the investor's mind about your skills? Okay? It's amazing to see that people talk a lot about things for which they have no credibility. They have never done it before, and they don't even spend the time to think about the fact that they have not done it before. What does it mean to an investor? Is he going to let me in, knowing that I haven't done it before? I have no skills, relevant skills to what I'm supposed to do. So the question of skills is critical. If this is your first time in this market, which can be, you need to go back to your skills and research what skills are needed in order to build that company. And then you have to match your skills to that list. You have to demonstrate that you have the skills to build the company, whether it's in R&D, in marketing, in sales, anywhere. The next one is fit. The team has to fit. An investor is looking at 3 people that are in front of him, and there is a dialogue. You need to script that dialogue. You need to understand who is going to say what and when. Who is playing which role? You have to fit in a way that is complementary on one hand, but is actually giving credibility to the full set of skills, again, of the people. The next one is experience. Now, this one is a very critical one and kills most of the companies because eventually the investors are not convinced that you are going to make it. You cannot, in certain spaces, you cannot apply for the job if you don't have the proper experience. In Cirque du Soleil, the acrobats are not coming without experience. Most of the time, they have 10 years of experience in what they do, because it requires execution without mistakes. In startups, you can make mistakes, but not so many. You will be surprised. Not so many. And you need to have experience. Now, many times you don't have the experience, and you are not even aware of it. I see specifically situations like this where people come with a technology background, and they go after a market where they want to apply their technology to a problem space that essentially is not technological at all. For example, this one is an augmented reality fitting room where women can try on clothes in the store in front of a mirror. There are cameras that scan your body and immediately calculate how to fit the clothes to your body, and you can see yourself in the mirror without trying the cloth on. That sounds like a good idea. But if we are 2 engineers from a software company, and we happen to be men also, and we talk about the fashion industry for women and about this kind of product that has all kinds of social issues around it, will women want to do it? What does it mean? What kind of model do you have to have in order to approach retailers? Because eventually it's a market, go-to-market issue. And this is a very tough market. The technology is just the tip of the iceberg. Also, when you look at experience, you need to make sure that in this market space, if you are coming without experience, it's accepted. There are certain spaces, if you are going to build an iPhone application that is a better calendar, you know what? We are all users of calendars, maybe you can do it, okay? But there are many, many different spaces where without experience you are not going to be even invited to the party. So don't start a company where it's very clear that you need a lot of experience and you don't have it unless you invite somebody else to your team that comes from that market. That's a great solution for it, but you must do it. So the last one is determination. Now this is a word that has a kind of a psychological impact on people. What do you mean determination? Of course, we are going to give our life for this company. But many times when you are actually thinking about that, and investors like to dig into that, the image that they have in their mind is different. Is of a team that is kind of committed to it. It's a kind of a chicken and egg problem. If you give me the money, then we are going to work. And if I'm not going to give you the money, are you committed? What do you mean? If you don't give us the money, how can we be committed? Somehow the investors want that the answer will be that you are committed even without the money. There is no food and you are committed. You are not going to give up no matter what. They look you in the eyes. They want to see the look of a team that will never give up. So in summary, a team that can execute and will never give up. A team that can execute. Experience and skills, complementary, good fit. There are many elements to it that you need to understand. So now we are basically at the innermost ring, and we can see through the maze with all the traps from the marketing, from the positioning, the market, the product, the team, and we have covered also some of the ways to bypass all those traps and mines and monsters, and the kind of armors that you can put around you as you are going in. So this creates a kind of a path, a safe path into the maze, into the gold in the center. And more than the specific traps that I covered here, it's more about the mindset, to understand that this is the way that it works in the investor's mind. Now, the good news here, and this is actually something that I've seen throughout my career, imagine how boring the adventure would have been if they just gave us the money. It has to be interesting, okay? It has to be exciting. And in order to be exciting, it has to be very hard and very difficult to do. Many turns, many traps, many falls, and you have to continue. Thank you very much.